This is the first video you must watch on enrollment for any of our GMAT programs. The first step we recommend is to press F11 so that you go full screen and you do not have any distractions from anything else happening on your computer. When you log in, you will be taken to the Student Center. This page is the home of the software platform. You can find the details of your subscriptions and various topics within the platform. For a comprehensive and structured approach to your preparation, it is strongly recommended that you opt for the complete access to the software. For example, the user I am logged in with has complete access and all the options are activated here. There is an elaborate top menu, along with two buttons here. Stickies will help you take notes. So if you are watching a video or taking an exercise and you come across a new concept, you can just open a sticky and type the concept. Give it a suitable title. I just saved one sticky for you. Weather generally wins over if on the GMAT. Save this, and this would go into the stickies here. So when I come on this page, see the note is right here. You can use the stickies for various usages. For example, if you are watching a particular video, you see the probability video, and you feel that you need to revise, let's say minutes 3 to 5 on probability video, you can save a sticky and consider it a reminder. You can also give a different color to the stickies with reminders and place them all in a separate row. You can play around. There are various ways in which you can use this feature. Back to the Student Center. SOS button is for reporting any technical problem that you may face on the software. Remember, it is not about doubt solving. It is for reporting any technical problem that you may encounter on the software. For example, in case you are not able to access tests, you can write such a message and submit. We will get back to you shortly. The assured turnaround time is 2 working days. Generally, we revert much faster than that. Back to the Student Center. This page gives you the big picture. In fact, we are working on a more elaborate version of the Student Center, wherein you will see a lot of rich data analytics as you scroll down. Plus, you will also find the status of your progress in all topics throughout the software. There is some dummy data put in here. Don't worry about it. But the new interface should be active in another few weeks from now. While using the software, you just need to follow the order in which the resources have been arranged, left to right and top to bottom. We have tried our best that when you complete something, the next logical step should be in front of your eyes. Therefore, you will find that this platform intuitively guides you through your preparation. So the first thing you should do after you complete watching this video is to come to this tab, Tips and Study Plan. You will find 2 study plans here, 15 weeks comprehensive study plan and 6-week crash course. You can choose one for yourself. Along with the study plan, you will find 8 main prep tips. We strongly recommend that you take printouts of these 2 pages, the study plan and the 8 main prep tips. Place the prints on your study desk so that these 2 key guiding resources are always in front of your eyes. Please go through the 8 prep tips followed by the FAQs about the prep and the software. There are some wonderful tips in here. Please take a while to just go through all of them and apply these on your preparation right from the first day of your prep. This complete page, Tips and Study Plans, will take only 1 hour to complete, but it will go a long way in setting the tone of your preparation. Very, very important. Next, you must follow the order in the top menu. The next tab is GMAT Facts. We understand that many of you may be familiar with the GMAT. Maybe you have taken the GMAT once, but still go through all the 6 videos in this section and you will definitely end up learning a few things. And very important, as you keep on completing these topics, please ensure changing the status of the topics accordingly. There are 3 options here: mark as completed, revised, and revised twice. So as you proceed with your preparation, please keep on changing the statuses. For example, if you complete watching this video, you must mark it as completed, and eventually before your GMAT, it should be 3 ticks for all the topics across all the tabs. Remember, 1 checkmark means completed, 2 checkmarks mean completed and revised, 3 checkmarks mean completed and revised twice. And as I just said, right before your GMAT, it should be 3 checkmarks across all the topics across all the tabs. This tab, GMAT Facts, will again take you less than an hour, but it will truly equip you with all the facts about GMAT. The scoring, the accuracy you must target, and things like that. Next, Sentence Correction Book. Here is probably the world's most complete sentence correction book. We can assure you that if you complete these 12 topics thoroughly, conceptually, you would know everything that appears on the GMAT sentence correction. Once again, keep on changing the statuses every time. It will keep you in control of the complete set of resources. Now, whether you want to complete all the 12 topics in one go and then move to the next resource, or whether you want to mix these 12 topics with a bit of quant and other topics, depends on your style of studying. Personally, I would want to complete all the 12 topics, so that I know that sentence correction, the most crucial of the topics on the GMAT, is conceptually under my control. However, until you are not done with the sentence correction concept book, please do not start with the Phase 1 of sentence correction. Next, move to Phase 1 of the preparation. Quant, SC, CR, and RC. Complete them in whatever order you like. However, please do not wait for one topic to get over for the other to start. Please mix up these 4 topics. Phase 1, Understand, is about developing concepts. This is the most important, the most interesting part of the preparation. What we have done is that we have broken the GMAT into 100 small pieces. The average duration of our 100-plus concept videos is between 5 and 6 minutes. So the idea is that you watch a small conceptual video. For example, you watch a video on factorials. So watch this video. Always go full screen while you are watching a video. Watch the video completely. You will see that concepts have been taught in a very experiential way. The emphasis is on teaching concepts by solving live examples. Once you are done watching, come back and take an exercise based on their respective concept. We have worked hard on ensuring that you work on a truly GMAT-like interface. Everything here is how it is on the real GMAT. You will be practicing more than 4,000 questions through your preparation, and you will completely pally with this platform through the course of your preparation. Another very interesting feature that we have developed in this software is look at the timer. On the GMAT, you get 120 seconds on average per quant question and 110 seconds per verbal question. Therefore, when you take more than the average time available on GMAT, the timer turns red. So you know that now you are taking more than the prescribed time on a particular question. When you see this happening over thousands and thousands of questions, you would know how long 110 seconds or 120 seconds are. We want you to intuitively know how long you are spending on a question. This will go a long way in your time management on the real GMAT. So see, it's going to be 2 minutes. The moment it becomes 2 minutes, it's going to turn red. So see, now it's red. Then when I mark this question and I move to the next question, the timer would be white again. And once again, if I go beyond 2 minutes, it's going to turn red. So complete the exercise carefully. On stage 1, I suggest that don't worry about the time that you are taking. Just try to grasp the concept. When you complete an exercise, you will get a screen with some elaborate analytics and scores. I didn't do too well. I was randomly marking. So you get the total number of questions you attempted, correct attempts, accuracy, percentage, total time taken, time per question, and time available on GMAT. So you can always compare the time you took and the time available on the GMAT per question. Then you can see what was the difficulty of the questions you got wrong and things like that. If you want to analyze any question, simply click on the question number and you will be taken back to the relevant question. Now, when you go back to the stage page, you will see some buttons activated. So you can go back to the performance report. You can repeat all the questions, you can review all the questions, you can repeat the incorrect attempts, and you can review the incorrect attempts. Repeating incorrect attempts is strongly recommended. In this part, you can see the broad numbers: the time you took per question, overall accuracy, the date on which you completed the exercise, and the number of attempts. Suppose you repeat incorrect questions. The time per question, accuracy, date completed will accordingly be updated, and the number of attempts will become 2. So keep solving things in the arranged order. Remember the left to right, top to bottom approach. Topics have been arranged in a way to ensure organic learning, and if you repeat any topic, remember to mark the topic as revised. As I keep saying, eventually it has to be 3 ticks across all the topics. However, let me emphasize that do not expect immediate results. GMAT preparation is a gradual process. You need to look at the concept. You need to take an exercise. You need to use the options given here: repeating the videos, repeating the exercises, repeating the incorrect attempts. In particular, having a look at all the analytics that the software will throw at you. Coming back to the concepts once in a while and ensuring that eventually you have completed and revised each topic twice is what is eventually going to get you results. Something very important. In our experience of having trained thousands and thousands of students, we see that the students are sometimes impatient and the emphasis is on the accuracy and the scores in the full-length tests. If there is one thing that I want to teach you, the first, it is that chase the learning. Do not chase the scores. Whatever skills you develop through your GMAT preparation are going to help you a lot in your B-School and in your management career. Focus on the learning. Scores will follow. Another very important thing. While we have a separate conceptual book for sentence correction, for other topics, the Phase 1 material is generally sufficient. 9 out of 10 students do not require any additional basic material. However, if you think that you are that 10th student who needs that additional help for other topics, please send us an email on guidance@expertsglobal.com, and we will send you the basic material for other topics as well. For example, recently a student requested an additional basic book for critical reasoning, and we emailed him a conceptual book. However, as I said, 90% of the students do not require an additional material. And the earlier you get into this experiential learning mode, where you are watching a video, solving a bunch of questions, the better it is. So this way, keep on solving all the Phase 1 material. In sentence correction, similarly, you will see there are some initial topics about sentence correction in general, and then topics would start: modifiers, subject-verb agreement, etc. So the pedagogy we have here is first a short video explaining the concept and the approach, then in the next video, some live solved questions based on that concept. These are all GMAT-like questions with 5 answer choices on a GMAT-like ecosystem. Then you take an exercise based on the same concept. Keep on doing that. 1 round for all the main topics on sentence correction, and then, once all the topics are over, you will see round 2 for all the topics. In verbal, it is always difficult to grasp the concept by just 1 iteration. So we have ensured 2 iterations for each topic. Keep on doing that. Keep on learning from your mistakes. Always analyze the mistakes carefully. In fact, for certain topics, such as parallelism, we have 3 rounds. In our experience, we have seen that for the most tricky topics, students generally need 3 rounds of practice on the concept. Similarly, for critical reasoning also, a very similar approach. The first few videos are around general approach towards critical reasoning, and thereafter the topics start. Around 10 broad topics for critical reasoning, and once round 1 of everything is over, you would have a second round for all the topics. So once again, assumptions round 2, strengthening round 2, weakening round 2, stuff like that. Analyzing your performance is a very important part of the preparation. So keep looking at the performance report and the statistics that you get here. Remember, you also have the option of flagging a question. So if you think that a particular question you attempted was a guess, or if a particular question you think has a particular concept that you would want to revisit, you can keep marking the questions as guesses or review. And these questions keep getting saved under flags here. So you see these questions come here. You can revisit them at your comfort. Coming to Phase 1, reading comprehension, one of the most common mistakes by GMAT aspirants is that they underestimate reading comprehension. Practicing reading comprehension regularly has to be an integral part of your preparation. So this section is extremely important. Phase 1, understand. The first section would take you a few hours to complete. There is a video on overview of RC on GMAT, then a strategy video that would help you in attempting all the RC questions on the GMAT. Then a video on application of strategy on a reading comprehension. Next, a video on application of strategy on one more reading comprehension. Then a detailed exercise followed by the performance report, after which you have lots of exercises. Each exercise has 1 reading comprehension. It is recommended that you take 2 exercises, 5 to 6 times a week. That way, you will end up solving good 10 reading comprehensions in a week. And that brings me to tell you that what should a usual week of your preparation be like? The idea is that Monday to Friday should be your self-preparation, concept building, as well as practice. Saturday should be about consolidating your preparation, revising whatever you did over the complete week, and solving the questions that you got wrong over the complete week. Sunday, you should take a full-length test, followed by proper analysis of the test. Very, very important. Do that over and over, and you will definitely see results. I completed Phase 1. Let me talk about AWA and IR. Another common mistake by GMAT aspirants is leaving AWA and IR to the end of their preparation. This is not the correct approach. What we recommend is completing these two topics alongside the Phase 1 of your preparation. The way we have designed these topics, you will be able to complete your AWA and IR prep in one day each, and you would have all the conceptual clarity about these sections, after which it would be about applying and learning on full-length tests. So, take all the 15 tests with AWA and IR and apply all the learning that you got at an early stage in your preparation. This much preparation is going to be enough, and through this approach, you will not need to prepare for AWA and IR separately at a later point in your preparation. Moving on to Phase 2. Once again, it has 4 parts: Quant, SC, CR, and RC. In Quant, we have segregated the exercises in a topic-wise manner, because on the GMAT, when you look at a question, you can figure out which topic it is from. So Quant exercises are in a topic-wise manner throughout the Stage 2. The approach remains the same. Take an exercise, look at the analytics, review your performance, repeat incorrect attempts. Keep on doing that for all the 40-plus topics. In Verbal, however, in all the topics, the exercises have questions mixed up from different concepts, because in Verbal you don't know which question is testing which concept, and you need to have adequate practice of solving questions without actually knowing that which question is testing which concept. Adequate number of exercises across all the topics will help you meet the objective of Phase 2, practice, which is about achieving a balance between speed and accuracy. Hereafter, Phase 3, Master, is about getting ready for the GMAT, so you are made to solve a high number of high-difficulty questions. All the questions are 700 plus in difficulty. Now, let's come to the full-length test. Taking one full-length test per week has to be an integral part of your preparation. That's another mistake that students commit, that they leave the full-length test for the end of the preparation. Please do not commit that mistake. GMAT is a 4 hours long test, and building such stamina is a gradual process. What taking one full-length test per week does is that A, it helps you build the stamina for sitting for 4 hours at the peak of your concentration. B, it keeps you in touch with all the topics on the GMAT. C, it helps you come up with your own test-taking strategies. For example, what section order to select. And D, it helps you come up with a fine balance between speed and accuracy. In full-length tests, the test-taking part works exactly how it is on the GMAT. The main screen here gives you tons of interesting analytics. It tells you 5 topics each that you are struggling the most in Quant and in Verbal. So you always know what your weaknesses are at any point in time. These graphs keep on telling you that how your performance is changing as you are preparing. There is a lot of good data here. You can scroll through this and know a great deal about your performance. Another very important part is the review screen. Students very often ask that how one should analyze one's performance. Our answer is simply that move from left to right and top to bottom to the review screen. You can just keep on analyzing everything. There are a lot of rich graphs and data here. Just keep on making good use of all of this. We are working on the UI once again, and this is the new UI that we will see in a few weeks' time. This is going to be the new Tests home screen. And this is going to be the new Test review screen, so it's going to get a lot more engaging and intuitive in a few weeks. Next tab is Extras. In this section, you will find some non-mainstream concepts on the GMAT, some extra concepts which will come in handy. Right now, there are only 3 videos here, and we will keep adding more topics here. The next tab is GMAT Shots. This is our personal favorite. This section has almost 200 videos, very short videos, less than 2 minutes long on average, covering virtually all the important topics on the GMAT. The idea is that no matter how sincerely you study, you are bound to forget some of the important concepts. GMAT Shots is an attempt to keep bringing those important concepts back to you. One fear we have is that some students may end up making this the main course of their preparation, which is not recommended. This section is to only aid your preparation. Use these 2-minute videos when you are standing a queue, waiting in the lobby, traveling in a cab, etc. Maybe you can watch a couple of videos before you go to bed. But don't make these videos the base of your preparation. Do keep visiting them. GMAT Shots are going to be your best friend through your preparation. They will ensure that you live your GMAT preparation. I completed Stickies earlier. We have covered flags also. Now, these two tabs, App Help and Interview Prep. As you would know, we are also a prominent admission consulting firm. These two tabs are meant to help you with your application process. The 40-odd videos will give you a very solid grounding for when you get into the application process. You can watch these videos alongside your GMAT preparation or watch these once your GMAT is over. The choice is yours. Now the last tab is Final Tips. Just one 8-minute-long video in here, but very, very important. Watching this video, good 2 to 3 weeks before your GMAT, will reinforce all you need to know in terms of having the right approach and the right frame of mind. The video also has some very important test-taking techniques. Make good use of all the tips and suggestions in this very, very important video. With this, we have covered all the tabs in here. We hope that this slightly long video helps you in making apt use of this very powerful tool. We have developed this platform with a lot of heart. We truly wish that this helps you in achieving your goals. All the best for your GMAT preparation.